the phone in your hand, your car, the plane you flew on, a missile. They all share one tiny secret part, a chip. And almost every advanced chip on Earth is made on a single island smaller than the state of Maryland. It's called Taiwan. And two superpowers are locked in a staring contest over it that could genuinely trigger World War III. This is the story of how one island ended up holding the entire modern world hostage, why China insists it owns it, and why the day it falls, your life changes too. No sides. Let's get into it. First, why does a chip matter this much? Because a modern chip is the brain inside literally everything electronic. It's a fingernail-sized slice of silicon with billions, yes, billions, of microscopic switches carved into it. Nothing smart works without one. But here's the key. Making a basic chip for a microwave? Lots of countries can do that. Making the most advanced chips, the ones in your newest phone or in artificial intelligence, is one of the hardest things humans have ever done. We're talking features thinner than a strand of your DNA, printed with lasers, in rooms cleaner than a hospital, and almost nobody on Earth can do it. Now the number that keeps generals awake at night. Around 90% of the world's most advanced chips are made in one place, Taiwan. Not most, not a lot, almost all of them, one island, one company mostly. If that factory stops, the modern world stops with it. So how did a small island most people can't find on a map become the single most important spot in the global economy? And why do two nuclear powers both want it so badly? To understand that, you need to know two completely separate stories that crashed into each other. Let's start with the chips. In the 1980s, an engineer named Morris Chang had a radical idea. Back then, every company that designed a chip also had to build its own giant, insanely expensive factory to make it. Chang said, "What if I build one world-class factory and just make everyone else's chips for them? A factory for hire." It sounded almost too simple. It changed everything. Suddenly, brilliant startups could design a chip without spending billions on a factory. They'd just send the blueprint to Taiwan. The biggest names in tech you can think of? A huge share of them don't build their own chips. They can't. They send the designs to that one island. And for 40 years, Taiwan poured everything into being the best. More money, more scientists, more relentless focus than anyone. The result? A lead so massive that even now, the richest countries on Earth are years, maybe a decade, behind. You can't just buy this. You can't rush it. And that lead accidentally became the island's best defense. They call it the Silicon Shield. Hold that phrase. It's the key to this whole standoff. Now the second story, the one that turns chips into a war. To China, Taiwan isn't a country at all. It's a runaway province that belongs to them. And to understand why, we rewind to 1949. Because here's the wild part most people don't know. For a while, there were basically TWO governments both claiming to be the real China. In the 1940s, China tore itself apart in a brutal civil war. On one side, Mao Zedong's communists. On the other, the ruling nationalist government led by a general named Chiang Kai-shek. Mao won the mainland. And the losing side, the entire nationalist government, its army, its treasure, didn't surrender. They fled to an island just off the coast, Taiwan. So now there were two. On the mainland, Mao's People's Republic of China, the China we know today. On Taiwan, the old Republic of China, still insisting it was the real government of all China, just temporarily in exile. Both governments agreed on exactly one thing: there's only one China. They just each swore they were it. That single idea is the fuse under everything that follows. For decades, the world actually recognized the Taiwan government as the real China. It even held China's seat at the United Nations. Then, in the 1970s, the math changed. The mainland had 1 billion people and a huge market. So one by one, countries switched sides. They dropped Taiwan and recognized Beijing as the real China. Even America. Taiwan lost its UN seat overnight. It went from the real China to a country most nations won't officially call a country. And that's Taiwan's heartbreaking limbo today. It has its own government, its own elected president, its own army, its own passport, its own thriving democracy of 23 million people. By every practical measure, it acts like an independent country. But most of the world, afraid of angering China, won't officially say so. It's a nation the world pretends not to see. Now, to be fair to China's side, because this isn't cartoon villainy, for China, this is deeply emotional. They see Taiwan as the last piece of a homeland torn apart by that civil war and by a century of foreign humiliation. To them, reunification isn't conquest. It's finishing unfinished business. Completing the nation. And no Chinese leader wants to be the one who loses Taiwan forever. But flip it around. The people on Taiwan have built a free, democratic society. They vote. They speak freely. Most of them have never lived under Beijing for a single day and have no wish to. To them, being reunified with an authoritarian government isn't coming home. It's losing everything they are. Two sincere stories. One island. No easy answer. Here's a nuance almost every news report skips. Most people on the island don't actually want either extreme. Poll after poll shows the same thing. Only a small minority want to formally declare independence, because that could trigger war. And an even smaller minority want to unify with China. The vast majority want option 3, just keep things exactly as they are. Peaceful, undeclared, in between. The problem? Keep things as they are isn't a choice both superpowers are willing to leave on the table forever. And there's a slow-motion time bomb inside this. Each new generation on the island feels less connected to the mainland, not more. Young people increasingly identify simply as Taiwanese, full stop. For China, that's terrifying. Every year that passes, peaceful reunification slips further away. The clock isn't just ticking on the military window, it's ticking on hearts and minds too. Now stay with me. Because these two stories, the chips and the Civil War, are about to collide in the most dangerous way possible. In a moment, I'll show you exactly what happens to your life the day China makes its move, and why even America can't clearly say whether it would fight. But first, why hasn't this war already started? So China is bigger, stronger, and utterly determined. The obvious question, why hasn't it just taken the island already? The answer is that shield. Taiwan makes the chips the whole planet, including China, depends on. Blow up that factory, and you don't just hurt Taiwan. You crash the entire global economy, including your own. China itself buys staggering amounts of Taiwanese chips. Destroying that factory would be like robbing a bank by burning down the vault with your own money inside it. So the chips protect Taiwan in a strange way. It's too valuable and too fragile to smash. That's the silicon shield. But, and this is critical, a shield is not the same as safety. Then there's America, and America's official position is one of the strangest in all of geopolitics. It's called strategic ambiguity. Here's what that means. The US sells Taiwan weapons and clearly wants it to stay free. But it deliberately refuses to say whether it would actually send its military to defend the island if China attacked. On purpose. It keeps everyone guessing. Why be so wishy-washy? Because it's a tightrope. If America clearly promised to defend Taiwan, it might embolden Taiwan to declare full independence, which could trigger the very war everyone fears. But if America clearly said it would not defend Taiwan, China might just walk in tomorrow. So the US stays deliberately unclear, hoping the fog itself keeps both sides frozen. It's genius. It's also terrifying. It gets more absurd. America officially acknowledges China's position that there's one China. It does not officially recognize Taiwan as a country, but it also arms Taiwan to the teeth and unofficially backs it. Everyone is performing an elaborate diplomatic dance where the words and the actions don't match. Precisely so, nobody has to pull the trigger. The whole piece rests on carefully not saying things out loud. For decades, that fragile fog worked. But lately, the fog is thinning. Because China has stopped waiting quietly. China's new strategy isn't a dramatic invasion. It's a slow squeeze. Almost every single day now, Chinese warplanes and ships push right up to Taiwan's edge, testing the line. Taiwan has to scramble its jets to respond every time. It's exhausting, expensive, and it's the point. Wear the island down, make the threat feel normal, boil the frog slowly. And if you think this is all new, it's not. Rewind to 1996. Taiwan was about to hold its first fully free presidential election. China hated it. So it tried to scare the voters by firing live missiles into the sea around the island. America's response was jaw-dropping. It sent 2 aircraft carrier groups steaming straight into the strait, the biggest show of US force in Asia since Vietnam. A raw message: back off. China, not yet strong enough, backed down. But it learned a lesson it never forgot: never be weak enough to be humiliated like that again. Everything China has built since, the navy, the missiles, traces back to that day. That's the terrifying difference now. In 1996, America could park carriers off the coast with total confidence. Today, China has built the largest navy in the world by number of ships, plus missiles specifically designed to sink those very carriers. The gap that let America win in 1996 has nearly closed. The bluff that worked back then might get called today, and everyone in the room knows it. Then, in 2022, a top American official visited the island. To you, a visit sounds harmless. To China, it was a red line stomped on. Beijing responded by surrounding Taiwan with the largest military drills in decades, firing missiles over the island, practicing a blockade, essentially rehearsing how it would choke Taiwan off from the world. A dress rehearsal in plain sight. And that rehearsal revealed something scary. China might not even need to invade. It could simply blockade, surround the island with its navy and let nothing in or out. Taiwan imports most of its food and nearly all its energy. Cut those off, and you could strangle the island into surrender without firing a single shot at a city. No dramatic D-Day, just a slow siege the world would have to either break or watch. And that would hand America the worst decision imaginable. Break the blockade, and you're in a shooting war with a nuclear superpower. Do nothing, and you lose the island, the chips, and your credibility with every ally on Earth. There is no good option, which is exactly why China finds a blockade so tempting. But before we get to who would win, let me show you the part that actually touches YOU, because you don't have to be a soldier to lose this war. The day a real crisis hits that island, the device you're watching this on becomes part of the story. I'll show you exactly how in a second. First, could Taiwan even survive an attack? Taiwan knows it can never outmuscle China head-on. So it's built what's called a porcupine strategy. The idea isn't to win a war, it's to make invading so painful that China never tries. Thousands of small, mobile missiles, mines, drones. Not one giant army to destroy, but a million tiny stings everywhere. Easy to threaten, brutally hard to actually swallow. And geography is on Taiwan's side. Between China and the island lies 100 miles of rough, open sea. An invasion means moving a massive army across that water while under fire. One of the hardest maneuvers in all of warfare. There are only a handful of beaches you could even land on, and Taiwan has spent decades turning every one of them into a fortress. Many military experts think a full invasion could fail, or become a bloodbath for everyone. So China is caught in its own trap. Invade now, and it risks a catastrophic, economy-shattering failure watched by the entire planet. But wait too long, and Taiwan digs in deeper, the world prepares, and the chance may close forever. That ticking clock, that pressure to act before the window shuts, is precisely what makes the next few years so dangerous. Now the part I promised, the part about you. Say a crisis hits, and that island's factories go dark even for a few months. Here's your world. New phones? Sold out or double the price. New cars? Production lines stop, It already happened during a small chip shortage a few years ago. Laptops, medical devices, banks, weapons, the whole digital economy. All of it depends on those chips. Experts estimate a war over Taiwan could cost the world trillions, dwarfing almost any disaster in modern history. You'd feel it in your pocket within weeks. That's why this isn't a distant problem for over there. Through that one tiny chip, the fate of that island is wired directly into your daily life. You are already standing on this chessboard. Most people just don't know the game is being played. And here's what almost nobody realizes. A war over these chips is already being fought. Not with missiles, not yet. With rules, bans, and technology. While the world watches the warships, America and China are locked in a silent chip war that will decide who leads the next 100 years. Terrified that China could use advanced chips to build unstoppable weapons and AI, America did something dramatic. It banned the sale of the most advanced chips to China. And then it went further. It also banned the incredibly rare machines that make those chips, devices so complex only one company in the entire world can build them. Choke the tools, and you choke China's whole future in chips. It's economic warfare at the highest level. About that machine. To print the most advanced chips, you need a device that fires lasers at droplets of molten metal 50,000 times a second to make a special kind of light. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars each, and exactly one company on Earth, in the Netherlands, knows how to build it. Not China, not even America. Whoever controls that machine controls the future, and right now, the West does. China's response? A national obsession. It is pouring hundreds of billions into building its own chips and its own machines from scratch, refusing to stay dependent on an enemy that can switch it off. It's behind, years behind. But so was Taiwan once. Never bet against a determined nation with unlimited money and a grudge. This race is far from over. And remember from the tariff story, China has its own choke point. It controls the rare earth minerals the West needs for its OWN technology. So it's a standoff of chokeholds. You block my chips, I block your minerals. Two giants with a hand around each other's throat and a tiny island trembling in the middle. So does all of this end in war? Not necessarily. There are three ways this could go, and the third one is the one almost nobody talks about. Let me walk you through exactly how this ends. And then, I'll tell you the one thing that might just save us all. And right now, both sides are studying a live example in real time, a war happening on the other side of the world. When Russia invaded Ukraine, everyone watching Taiwan took notes. China learned that invading a determined neighbor can turn into a long, brutal, humiliating quagmire, and that the West will unleash devastating economic sanctions. That gave Beijing serious pause. But Taiwan learned something too, and it's grim, that the West sends weapons and money, but not its own soldiers. Taiwan realized it might have to survive the first hardest blows completely alone. Both sides walked away from that war more afraid and more prepared. But here's the crucial difference that keeps Taiwan's generals up at night. Ukraine has land borders. Allies could drive weapons and supplies straight in for years. Taiwan is an island. In a blockade, nothing drives in. Every bullet, every chip, every meal would have to be fought through a wall of Chinese ships. If help doesn't arrive fast, it might not arrive at all. Geography that protects Taiwan from invasion also traps it in a siege. Scenario 1. The nightmare. China invades. Even if it wins, the chip factories are likely destroyed in the fighting. The prize turns to ash. The global economy craters. America is dragged in. Two nuclear powers trade blows. This is the scenario every leader claims they want to avoid. It's also the one the whole world is quietly, frantically preparing for. Scenario 2. The slow strangle. No dramatic invasion. Just endless pressure. Blockades, drills, isolation. Until Taiwan is worn down, or the world simply gets used to China calling the shots. This is the scenario many experts think is actually most likely. Not a bang. A tightening grip you barely notice until it's done. And scenario 3, the one nobody puts on a movie poster. The world simply builds its way out. Right now, terrified of losing that island, America, Japan, and Europe are spending fortunes to build their own chip factories at home. Here's the twist buried inside that. If the rest of the world can finally make advanced chips too, then Taiwan's silicon shield melts. The island becomes less irreplaceable. That's safer for the global economy, but far more dangerous for Taiwan because the shield protecting it disappears. Saving the world's chips might doom the island. Nobody has an answer for that. So is war inevitable? Honestly, no. Powerful forces are pulling toward conflict, national pride, a closing window, a leader who wants his legacy. But equally powerful forces are holding it back, mutual economic ruin, the nuclear shadow, and the simple fact that everyone loses. For now, the very things that make this so dangerous are also what keep the peace. It's a balance of terror, and balances can hold for decades, or shatter in an afternoon. And to be fair to all three, China isn't a cartoon monster. It's a proud nation trying to heal an old wound. Taiwan isn't a pawn. It's a real democracy fighting to keep what it built. And America isn't a saint. It's a superpower protecting both its ally and its own interests. Three sincere stories, one tiny island, and the whole world's future balanced on top of it. So the next time you pick up your phone, remember, the little chip inside it was almost certainly born on an island that two superpowers might one day go to war over. The most important place in the world isn't a capital or a battlefield. It's a factory on an island the world can't agree even exists. And its fate is quietly wired to yours. But if you think one rising superpower is dangerous, wait until you see what happens when TW of them, China and Russia, decide the old world order is finished and quietly team up to replace it. Because that partnership might be the real story of the next 50 years. And almost nobody is watching it closely enough. That's episode 4, probably already on your screen. Follow Diary of a Curious Guy. Because the news tells you what happened, we tell you why.